Welcome everybody to our January 2018 board meeting. Happy New Year. So we're going to start off, we're delighted to, the board's delighted to announce that we've selected two candidates to fill the open positions on the board. So just to give a little bit of background, we were delighted by the level of interest that we had from the community in these two positions. We had 14 people submit, qualifications and letters of interest, and we talked to each and every one of them. It was a very difficult choice because we, as I did say, had a lot of qualified candidates, but out of those 14, we've chosen two to fill the open positions. And just to remind people how this works, the two that have been chosen to fill the open positions will, should they choose, have to go on the ballot in May, because the appointments are only sort of effective until the next election cycle, which occurs in May. So we're going to actually start off the meeting by swearing in the two new board members, and then
vote on it.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yes. So, thank you,
Tom,
for reminding me of the procedure. So, before we go to swearing in, we have to vote on the board members. I'd like to make. Do we have to do two votes or one vote?
Oh, you can do one vote
Okay.
for both.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Whitney Barrett and Daniel Bonet as to fill the open positions on the New Rochelle Public Library Board of Trustees until the next election cycle in May of 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
So moved.
So then, why don't we go ahead and move on to the oath of office?
And then they're going to join us.
And then they're going to join us
Join
on
us.
stage here for the meeting.
So we could.
Unless they change their mind.
This is your last chance.
Right?
Speak now.
So, repeat after me. I, Whitney Barrett, do solemnly swear or affirm
I, Whitney Barrett, do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Board of Library Trustees
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the Library Board of Trustees
for a term to expire June 30th, 2018,
for a term to expire June 30th, 2018,
in New Rochelle, New York, according to the best of my ability.
in New Rochelle, New York, according to the best of my ability.
Switch places. I, Daniel E. Bonet, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will
I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Board of Library Trustees,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of
office of Board
Office of the Board Trustees
for a term to expire June 30th, 2018,
for a term to expire June 30th, 2018,
in New Rochelle, New York, according to the best of my ability.
in New Rochelle, New York, according to the best of my ability.
Just sign it.
Could you lean down?
We official?
We're official?
Oh, you can.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Thanks, everybody, for your patience as we swore in our new members. I'm just going to, a couple things. We want to first take a moment of silence related to the tragedy that occurred in New Rochelle. So if everybody just bow their heads, we'll take a moment of silence. And so first item on the agenda tonight, I just wanted to give a quick couple of words about our two new library board trustees. We're delighted to have them on the board. As I mentioned, we had a lot of qualified candidates. So Daniel, many of you may know, he's very involved in the community and has been lived in New Rochelle, I think, his entire life, most of your life. And lives on Union Street in New Rochelle. And then Whitney has been in New Rochelle for the last 5 years, has a couple of children at the Daniel Webster School, and lives on Cole Terrace. So those are our two new candidates that we're delighted to have on our two new board members. They're not candidates. They may be candidates should they choose to run in May, but they're not candidates now. So that, I think, concludes the update on the trustee search. So just moving on to other items of unfinished business. The first item is the downtown development update. We do continue to have a dialogue with RXR. We're not going to be voting on any sort of agreement tonight. We don't have an agreement that we're prepared to vote on. We're still in a level of dialogue with them, but we have no sort of real update from the last time that we met. There's been some discussion, but limited given the holidays. And so I'll reiterate the same thing that we've said before. To the extent we do have an agreement that we are going to put to a vote at any point in time, we have pledged and we will make that available 7 days in advance of any board meeting. So just wanted to reiterate that which we've stated previously. But other than that, I don't have an update in terms of the downtown redevelopment. With that, we're going to go to the public to be heard, and the first person on the list is Hannah Just Michael, who we all know well.
Wow.
Good evening, good evening. I just wanted to say Happy New Year first. Thank you for everything everybody does. Thank you to the new board members for stepping up, and you're going to enjoy yourselves so much. I'm jealous. I'm so proud that you have the videos going and everything is live. I just wanted to make an appeal again for a radio show that I do that could be publicized more within the library and the community. I do it on my own. It's just not enough. I'm not getting a lot of cooperation, and I think it's purely information. We get phone calls. I come here and I get updated, and I'm constantly trying to promote it, and I just sometimes feel alone out there. So I'm appealing as Citizen Hannah to the board. And Tom is going to be our upcoming guest, and I just think it could be promoted more. It could even wind up on the website. It's a podcast, basically. It's been on the air ever since WVOX noon, the third Tuesday of every month. It's been on for the last 5 years. It'll continue. They've asked me to continue. The library has asked me to continue, and I'm very proud of that. So I want to share that.
And it's all about the library.
It's all about the library. It's called New Rochelle Public Library on the Air. Occasionally Tom fills in as a host. Occasionally Barbara Davis fills in as a host. And anytime I've asked the board members, each of you, to come on anytime you want. We promote everything happening at the library, including all the advocacy groups. And it's been a great vehicle. And WVOX has been very generous with the time. They offered us more time, but I think an hour a month is probably third Thursday. Thank you, Yadira takes notes. So, so that's it. And again, I encourage everyone to keep up the great work, because it's just such a great institution. And I was with George Latimer, who we know we've gone to advocate for libraries in Albany, and we have a friend in the Westchester County Exec's office now, a close friend, and I want to encourage you to take advantage of that as well. So, and I continue to be here for everybody as your cheerleader. I forgot my pom-poms tonight. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'll come third Thursday of this month. You can't get anybody else.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you, Hannah. Al McCutcheon?
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, board president, board members. Happy New Year. And I also want to thank you for the opportunity for running, or at least petitioning for appointment. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'll look forward to working with you informally and formally in the near future. Question about fiduciary responsibility. I'm glad you gave this to us this evening. It gives us great insight as to the fiduciary responsibility and the definition. As we see the definition, as we see the definition given to us, just like to know, how does that pertain to the particular building development? How does that look in terms of application? Great skeleton, great theory right here, but how does that look in terms of application with regards to building development?
Well, I mean, I think the way that I would answer that, I think the definition and sort of the roles of our role on the board sort of is pretty clear in that definition, and our duty is to the library. And so, I think we've all spent time reading that definition. I think we're just going to leave it at that.
Is there a further understanding? Could you elaborate in terms of your understanding of the definition?
No, I mean, the role of the Library of Trustee is defined by New York State. It's not up to each of us to define it. And, that handbook is sort of the manifestation of how the state of New York defines the role of the trustee, and so that's the answer. Thank you.
Dorothy.
I'm sorry, Dorothy Oliver?
Happy New Year to each of you and to the appointees. Congratulations. My reason for being here this evening, since you are new and haven't been elected by the city residents here in New Rochelle, I would like to suggest that you do not have a chance to vote on anything, including RXR. I feel that you are temporary in this position, and until you are elected, I'm hoping that you do not let the new appointees vote on anything that has to do with the city of New Rochelle. I've been here for 84 years, all right? I've lived here for 84 years. I went to school with Jacob's husband, all right? So I'm asking you, please, please do not vote until you become permanent members. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Adam Deutscher?
Hello, good evening. Happy New Year to everyone, and congratulations to the new appointees. And thank you all for the work that you do. It is appreciated by the citizens of New Rochelle. As someone who has been to the meetings, not for too long, but I think I've made one point that I'm a citizen who is against the board entering into any agreement with RXR. And just because, I'm familiar that you have interviewed candidates to be appointed to the board, I just wanted to know what effort was made to make sure that people you are appointing to the board do not have a past or present relationship with RXR.
We have a conflicts of interest policy, which is made clear to the candidates and made clear that if there was a conflict of interest present or expected, that would be problematic and that they would not, we would have to discuss their position on the board.
Thank you. I really appreciate you clearing that
And
up.
the conflict of interest policy is part of our public documents.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lourdes Font?
Good evening. Happy New Year's, and congratulations to the new members. So you know that my position is that we don't want RDRXR or anybody, any development to take over the library. My question always has been, and I've never raised it, but the concept of conflict of interest keeps on bothering me, as I read in your document, and I appreciate you making that available to us for us to further understand exactly what your responsibilities are. You are being held to a very high standard with regard to conflicts of interest, and I believe that that standard should also be held to anyone who you are dealing with. And to me, it really is bothersome that in one way or the other, the funds that are going to be made available to the consultant who is responsible to address the value of the library is in one way or the other, even if it's sideways and made through some payment that later does not get associated with RDRXR, but ultimately comes from RDRXR. And my point here is, if you as the library and the board had determined before RDRXR came to you that it was necessary to assess the value of the library, that would have been a decision that you would have made and decided, we're going to spend the money to do that because that's important and that's valuable. But it's only come up in relationship to RDRXR's offer to you. So that's a concern for me. And I think that it bothers me that that money comes through them, because where the money comes from is where the power is, where the loyalty is, whether it's unspoken, spoken or not. So I raise that as a concern. I ask you to continue considering it as a proposition when you consider our any relationship with our DRXR. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Seth Marcusfeld?
Hi, y'all. I agree. My name's Seth Marcusfeld. I live on Lakeside Drive in New Rochelle. I agree with Lourdes. If you want to find out what the value of the library is, I don't think you need to get into a deal with anyone to find that out. You can pay for a consultant and find that out. And I also agree that any voting that may be done over something that isn't there yet, wait till after the elections. Thanks.
Thank you. Dan Miller?
I'll pass.
Thank you. Marjorie Sachs?
So, Happy New Year and welcome to the new appointees. I, first of all, want to say that I think this picture of Ozzie Davis here is fabulous. Really appreciate that and the display outside. And I was really happy to see in the New Year email announcement from the Business Improvement District that there was a video of the Friends of the Library featuring Amy Tietz, who's the co-president. And it just was wonderful because I had no idea that the Friends collect 1,000 book donation every week, and that in the basement there are 30,000 books there, which is just fantastic. To me, the idea that the community is contributing to the Friends are then able to sell these books at such a low cost to the community and raise the funds to be able to provide for the programming at the library is fantastic. So I can't always be just positive. So the other piece that I'm going to say with this is that I was floored, excuse the pun, that the basement of the library is used for this, and obviously a large area. And so when I think about what RXR has potentially proposed of possibly if there was a new library, if they were to purchase this and demolish this building, that it might be a floor or two or part of a floor or two in a high-rise building. I can't imagine how you would ever fit not only the 3 floors that you have here, but then all of these books in the basement into that kind of space. So again, leave the library as it is, where it is. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the next item of business, which is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. I know we sent them around electronically. Deirdre, I know you had a change.
Did you guys?
We made that change in the minutes that you have in front of you.
I was fine with them otherwise. I don't know if anybody else has any other changes, thoughts. Want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion
I'll second the motion to approve the
to
minutes.
approve the minutes.
All in favor? Aye. So we'll move on to the next item, which is the financial reports. Is there anything, Tom or Jean, that you want to highlight from the financial reports?
No, I'm happy to report that we're in good shape. We're moving forward. Our expenses are where they should be.
Okay.
So it's good news. Perhaps next month, we can review the last 6 months, just give a review.
Yep.
And of course, when the Budget Committee meets, there'll be more information that we can share.
Perfect. Yeah, we do need to set a budget committee meeting and add a member to the budget committee. One of the items that we can discuss is we do have to add some members to the committees, given our new joiners, so we can figure that out perhaps later in the meeting.
I have an idea.
So next item on the agenda, statistics report. Anything you want to highlight, Tom?
I'm just happy to report, activity has been strong during our holiday break. There was lots of people in the library, young families, but other people. And there are new online databases and products that are available through the Westchester Library System, as Dr. Gray knows. Some really wonderful streaming services like Canopy something that I think is worth looking at, Hoopla, which gives you access to film and audiobooks, ebooks, like Hoopla. Canopy is something that's gotten a lot of attention. We're thrilled that the county has been able to purchase it for us. And, we're encouraging people to not forget the printed word, but there is an online version of our library that's available to everybody. It's a great opportunity to access information, material from your home, from your commuting train car, from wherever. So happy to
Excellent.
share that with you.
Thank you. Dr. Gray?
Good evening and Happy New Year, and welcome.
Thank you.
I was once on this library board. I'd like to just, I think there are three items. The first was put in the package, you didn't have a chance to look at it. But Elise Burke is the executive assistant to Terry, who is our executive director. And at the annual meeting,
Could you speak into the microphone, please?
Oh, all right. In your packet should be something
You're
called.
still not speaking into the Is it on?
In your packet, Reverend Clark, would you? Now can you, is this fine?
Most definitely.
Okay. In your packet, there should be a brief item that looks like this, Westchester Library System Statistics for Thought by Elise Burke, who is the executive assistant to Terry Kirshner, our executive director. And I think it's a good thing, and I wanted to bring it to your attention because you don't always have time to look at the website, particularly the WLS website. And what she points out is that at our annual meeting, there was a video about WLS and what we do. And she said that perhaps the thing that she thinks is the most significant, and I think I agree, which is why I've remained on WLS is that the sharing that WLS does. It's 38 libraries and just the sharing. And so what she did is she decided to figure out what the value was. So if you look at the chart in the back, when you have time, you'll notice that there is something, what is the value of the AV and the value of the books. And the 38 libraries have a cost of $12 million a year because of the sharing. And it's wonderful. I can get a book out of any library in this county, even if I live in the Bronx and I do it right, I can do that too. It's just a wonderful thing. So this is just a stat when you have a chance to look at it. The second thing is that I just want to bring a couple of things to your attention. I don't know if anyone because I was not here, I was out of town when we had the annual meeting, but I was pleased that Judith Johnson, our regent, was there, and that Bernie Margolish. And the theme was that they're going to be, and you as a library are already on your way, particularly with your online activity and your robust teen and children's program. But libraries, flexible planning strategies, you're just going to have to think about for the future. As you know, libraries can't remain what they were. They just can't. So that was kind of the theme, and I won't spend any time with that. If you weren't there, let me just give you the standards, the 3 new standards that are being proposed as standards for the state for library, for minimum standards for public libraries. The first is, and I'll just give this to Tom later if he wants to put it in the minutes, programming. The State of University believes that it's important to make certain that the education needs of your community, and notice it says education needs of your community, not just schools, the libraries too, both in terms of in the library and online. The second standard, staff technology training. That will be a minimum standard in the state of New York, that the staffs, and I'll give this to Tom. And the fourth, standard number 4, which is new, is creating partnerships. I think you're already doing that, but they expect libraries to establish and maintain partnerships with other educational, cultural, and community organizations. And to include, notice this, to include those organizations in your long-range planning. So that's an interesting new standard. So I'll pass this on. And the last thing I want to bring to your attention is the E-rate. Now, we had a presentation, pass that to Tom, please. We had a presentation at our last E-rate, at our last meeting. And I am going to recommend to you that you bring to the library, and particularly since you have a public that attends, our technical person and our executive director to give you an in-depth understanding of the E-rate. Now, we are committed, WLS is, to having a community forum. We won't go forward, but a community forum means we invite all 38 libraries, and I'm not sure how many people will attend. I'm selfish enough to believe that my own community needs its own attention. So I've called and said, will you come? And they will when you invite them. And let me just tell you the kinds of things that you will want to know. You will want to know what it means in terms of cost. You will want to know what we get out of it. You will want to know a couple of important things, what E-rate is. By the way, E-rate is not a grant. That's the important thing to know. It's also, you have to spend the money to get the money. So WLS will get the money, spend the money and get the money. And the new E-rate takes out there's no, in the old E-rate, they would fund phones. Gone.
Too bad.
Don't, but they will now fund wireless networks.
Wireless networks?
Yeah, okay. Now, as I said before, the reason that you want to talk about it is because you want to concern yourself with the filtering and what it means. And that's going to be your decision as a library. However, WLS has the right to go after the E-rate, even if you don't participate.
I have a question. When is this a decision? Like, when is this something?
Very soon. That's why I would
So
say.
should we do it at the next meeting?
I think so. I think so.
Have them come?
Have
Yeah.
Terry Kirshner and Rob
And
Corey.
Rob, yeah, come.
Should I connect with them?
Yes,
To
please.
set that up?
Can I just intercede real quick for our new board members? The E-rate is this discount that can be available on like wireless internet stuff, but you have to agree to like filtering of the content that people can view, and Westchester Library System historically has not.
No, but
participated.
now there's a change on the members of our board because there's more money involved. Plus, there's a change in the there are two of us, well, I'm not going to go into that. It's the privacy question.
Yeah.
It's the privacy question, and that's your conscience. I would never tell, The last time you were split, as I told you, and so I reported that, and then I voted against the E-rate, along with many of my colleagues. And then finally, you have to address the safety policy, which has to do with access to inappropriate matter, who decides that? Safety and security when using email chat rooms, hacking, unauthorized disclosure. Now, under the Bush administration, we were very concerned about the privacy issue, because it got to be very bad. I mean, anytime that somebody can go into a bookstore and say, what books did Monica Lewinsky check out? That's a problem. That's a problem. But what I do want to tell you is how they calculate the financial impact. This you will find interesting. So it's calculated on the percentage of students that receive free and reduced lunch through the National School Lunch Program. That's how it's calculated. And it's calculated on the place that the system is located. So what does that mean?
Where's the system?
No.
Mount Vernon?
No.
Like,
The
where's
system,
Elmsford?
Elmsford.
Yeah, where you guys are.
It's
Elmsford.
calculated on where the system is located. Our system's address is Elmsford.
And then, so that would be the school rate
Elmsford,
for
yeah.
Elmsford, not
Yes.
New Rochelle.
No. So Elmsford, 51.6% of students are funded in Elmsford through the National Lunch Program.
It's good your headquarters isn't in Chappaqua.
Right. So the E-rate, so that WLS would probably be eligible for about 49%. So I just wanted to tell you that. Isn't that an interesting stat? It's calculated based on the free and reduced lunch of where the system is located. Okay. So with that, unless there are any questions, I'm finished. Yes.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Please.
Do you know what the rate is for New Rochelle?
I don't, but I would say it's around there. I don't.
49, losing out.
We can find out. I
50%?
can send it out. We have it. I think it is in
Yeah,
that general
it's about
neighborhood.
50%.
But
You
Dr.
remember
Gray,
voting on it?
Yes.
I'm just asking.
No, there's only one other trustee
That's
here
what I'm
that
saying, yeah.
voted on it.
Oh, quit, you voted on, you weren't around, were you?
yes, he was.
Oh,
We won't make you disclose your
I
votes.
know.
Dr. Gray, do you have a sense of how the WLS board will go?
I think that there will be a couple, me and Kathy Draper, But I think that most of the trustees, including, I think they will vote for the E-rate this time.
They'll accept it in this instance as opposed to the previous one.
But that's why you should ask Robert to come, because he has some caveats that you could be comfortable with, I think. So why don't you listen to the expert on this? The person who will write the grant, who will, and Terry will, and the public library directors will have an opportunity to weigh in. But I think the WLS will probably, it's more money,
And it's significant money, too.
What did we lose, 100 and some, we lost
I thought over
$150,000.
$300,000?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, it
We
was
didn't
a
take it
considerable sum.
in the name of privacy, and so we didn't take it.
So we'll have, if we can get them to come.
Right. I'll reach out to Terry Kirshner and Rob Kaluri, and we can set up a presentation that can be focused and to deal with this issue.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Gray. Moving on to the President's report. So just a couple of brief things before, one brief thing before Tom gives his Director's report. So I wanted to let folks know that, there's currently 3 advocacy organizations that sort of support the library: the Friends of the Library, the Foundation, and the Partnership for the Huguenot Children's Partnership with the Huguenot Children's Library. The Foundation and the Partnership are in preliminary discussions about sort of merging together and combining their efforts. That's driven primarily, and we've had discussions with the Partnership, so I don't think I'm speaking out of school. That's still driven primarily by the fact that the Partnership, their primary mission was the original refurbishment of the library, and they're struggling a little bit to sort of get involvement from the community and to raise funds without sort of a very specific goal for that library. So that's why they're exploring kind of combining forces with the Foundation. So that's not something that we, are driving that discussion. I think ultimately we probably would have to approve it in some way if they chose to move forward. But I just wanted to give people a heads up that those organizations were having a discussion, and it's all in their overall goal is to be able to provide the maximum amount of assistance to the library generally. So it's all coming from a good place. And with that, I will move to the Director's report.
Thank you, Chuck. It's a fairly brief presentation tonight. Just want to give you an update in relation to our grants. We are still waiting on a decision by our Buildings and Grounds Committee in specific to the renovation of the HVAC system for the theater, and tonight is the perfect reason why it's a project that needs to go forward. We are not able to control the heat, so it's extremely hot now. If you've attended any of our summer programs, you know quite the opposite. It's freezing. And so on Wednesday of next week, our Buildings and Grounds Committee and our Citizens Advisory Committee, otherwise known as CROC, are going to meet. We're going to talk with the consultant that the library board hired in relation to doing a search, a public bid for a vendor to help us fix this problem. And as you folks know, we have monies now in place to complete the project. The remaining bond monies that we had received from the residents in 2011. We also were lucky enough to have this $88,000 grant that I'm giving you this update about, and also some fund balance money. So that's one grant we're hoping to spend. The clock is ticking on moving forward on this project. The state of New York gives us a certain amount of time to move forward when we get these grants from the New York State Library. So that's one project that is, hopefully will be beginning in the next 5-6 months. I'm happy to report that another project that we received a substantial grant from the state was just completed, and that is the renovation at the Huguenot Children's Libraries for the windows. The windows were in extremely poor shape, lots of leaks, wind gusts. We now finished that project, have closed out the grant, and the librarians and the public tell me that it's not as drafty as it used to be, and there aren't any leaks, which is really good news. Our most significant grant that we're waiting for, anxiously waiting for, is the $275,000 that we received in September of 2017, and that is for a renovation of the circulation area and the lobby area. And in that grant. The total project is $360,000. We were lucky enough to receive the maximum amount, three-quarters, $275,000.
We
Well,
have a team.
we have a
that's
team.
Very, very good.
we had a great argument. That's true. I mean,
So-
we've been, it's terrific. We're excited. The staff is excited. I think the board and the public will be too. And so this project will allow us to create a more functional circulation desk, a desk that will be combined into one. It will be ADA compliant. We'll be able to create better energy usage in regards to more efficient lighting. We'll have a security desk that will be attached to our circulation area. We'll also have cameras, see what's going on in the library. We'll have a gate that will allow us to secure the library when we have our many programs in the theater or the lobby. We're going to be including patron self-checkout as another feature we're very excited about. Part of that feature will also allow for patrons who have fines, et cetera, will be able to use credit cards. So that's also a really great feature that our public has been asking about for a year. So that money will hopefully arrive in August, September. We have to get a formal letter from the state. That will likely happen in June of this year. So that's another grant we're waiting for. The Mary Smart Foundation grant arrived, $10,000. I think we had discussed at previous meetings. Again, we're going to renovate a room that had been used once as the Friends bookstore. Now the Friends have, of course, a beautiful new bookstore in the lobby. The room that is adjacent to the Community Relations Office will be retrofitted, and it'll become a meeting space, a community volunteer space. And so we're excited about that. And our custodians, who are very, very talented, will do the work, and the Smart Family Foundation monies will allow us to provide the materials to make it happen. And last, it was great that Hannah was talking about the Friends, and Marjorie as well, about the Friends and the great things that they do. As you know, that they sell many, many books, 1,000 come in a week. And as a result, they give us upwards of $50,000 to $60,000 to $70,000 a year. They just approved our grant for 2018, which is approximately $59,000. Most of that money will go towards programming for children, teens, and adults, some collection development monies. They're going to allow us to use money to create 2 additional study rooms on our second floor. If you folks have used our library, it's particularly popular, and there's always a call, a claim for more meeting room space, more individual study space. We're going to be able to do that again with the money that they provide us and our talented custodians. So the Friends make a huge difference for us every day. I suggest to anybody in the audience, take a look at their book sales. They're great books at a very modest fee, and it allows us to do all kinds of great programming for the New Rochelle community. Let's see what else. Another very exciting initiative that we talked about a year ago, which is starting to move forward, is the Westchester County Association's Gigabit Westchester initiative. And that, as you may recall, is an initiative that the County Association has taken on, and they're looking to create gigabit capacity in 4 Westchester cities: our city, White Plains, Mount Vernon, and Yonkers. And next week, next Friday, there is an iNeighborhood meeting here in New Rochelle to talk about what this might mean as WCA goes forward and looking for money to make this project happen. And the idea is
Capacity,
gigabit capacity will mean that our residents who may not have the financial ability to have access to the internet. This is a huge step forward in closing the digital divide, because so many people don't have computers or don't have internet. They are welcome to come to the library, but I think we all know sometimes it's convenient to be in your home and have access to the internet.
allow access at home? We'd be giving.
This project would allow access for residents as well as business, as well as health. It's a part of the smart growth idea.
Kiosk? Is that what the kiosk? That
No, it would be available free throughout the city.
So we'd be giving people computers?
No, the project would give people internet access.
Like a Wi-Fi?
Yes.
Like they'd be able to link to.
Right.
Oh,
Is the
interesting.
Wi-Fi
As
coming
opposed
from
to,
kiosk, is my question.
I'm not quite sure about the particulars. I don't think they've worked it out.
Citywide hotspot.
Yeah,
As opposed to paying Optimum or Verizon.
Right.
For like an internet.
right.
I like that.
So, and there are cities that have done it and been very successful. Chattanooga, Tennessee is one city that's worth mentioning. There are lots of others. There's a great team in place to move forward. One of the things that we've done with Bill Mooney and his people is that the library is ready to participate, because while if people have access to the internet, they may need some training, some assistance. We have the capacity, we have many computers here. We just actually are introducing a teen a laptop kiosk in the teen area so that teens can take their laptops and move about in the area. We have well over 100 public computers. We want to be one of the movers in relation to providing training and assistance. As a matter of fact, Bill Mooney and his people were supposed to be here today. They had to cancel, but they will come back after this iNeighborhood meeting. And the idea is that we want them to see our facility, see what we have, see the kind of people we have, the kind of people we can employ, so that we can make this a real going, successful initiative. So I'm really excited about that. I think that could make a huge difference for our community. And the buy-in is across the board: the city, the school district, the health providers, there's the developers. There's just a huge group of people who are there who understand the importance of providing this gigabit access.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, so I'll keep you all posted. And just finally, I ask you to remember again the Friends. Their next book sale is the first Friday and Saturday of February. Their bookstore is open on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And our foundation's next meeting is not this Monday, but the following Monday at 7:45 in the meeting room.
When is the meeting, when do they book sale again? It's every
Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
Oh, thank you, Tom. So moving on to the personnel report. Do we have a personnel report?
As of December 31st, Kathy Cronin, who was our children's librarian, retired due to ill health. There is a retirement party for her this Sunday from 12 to 3 while the library is closed. Invite board members, et cetera, to attend if at all possible. In keeping with the law, I need to ask the board to pass a motion that would accept the resignation of Kathy Cronin as of December 31st.
Regrettably, also move.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you. I don't have a vote yet on this initiative, this effort, but at long last, we seem to have landed a part-time librarian archivist. Our previous archivist, who did a great job, was in poor health and had to retire. So at long last, we found somebody that we thought could really help us with our amazing collection of local history materials, manuscripts, photographs, all depicting the history of New Rochelle. And since our library is effectively the historical society for the city, it's an important task. We have fallen a little behind because of Jane's retirement, but our new person, who hasn't formally started yet, I think will help us make inroads in this area. And next meeting, I'll have a motion for him, his salary, et cetera.
Thank you. Just moving on to the committee reports. Budget committee, we need to set a date to meet. And I think maybe sort of once the meeting concludes, we can look at the meeting. We've got to add some people, given our two new joiners to the committees, and then we can set a date for the budget committee meeting. But it is just for our new board members, even though the vote's not till May, we need to start now because we have to submit the budget to the school district by, is it April?
April.
April, yeah. So we usually have a series of meetings to kind of, and then recommend a budget to the board, and the board then votes on it.
And then we go out to the public.
Yeah, then we do kind of a road show around to neighborhood associations, et cetera, to kind of socialize it with people and answer questions. So we'll get something scheduled. You'll keep us honest. Building and Grounds Committee, I know we now have the meeting scheduled,
Yeah,
so
I think that's the news.
that's the
I
update.
don't think there's anything
No.
developed since the last meeting, because we've been trying to get this meeting.
Unfortunately, the bad weather last Thursday interfered in that meeting.
Okay, so we'll have the meeting there, and hopefully we'll have a report from the Building and Grounds Committee next meeting. Community Relations Foundation and Huguenot partnership. Obviously, I gave the update on the partnership and the foundation. Tom, you gave a little bit about the Friends. Is there anything else anybody would like to mention? Okay. Finance, Treasury, and Audit. I don't think, Greg, we have an update. I think we're still waiting for the...
So from the school district, have we settled? Or that's what you're talking about?
I think we're close.
We're very close. I reached out to our attorney earlier this week, did not hear from him, reached out to him today, did not hear from him. We're hoping that our attorney and the school district's attorney will reach an accord that we can accept and go forward. We're very close.
And just to remind people, and so our two new board members don't totally freak out, we're not like suing the school district.
No.
We're just trying to memorialize in writing the obligations of the school district with respect to financing, both short-term debt, long-term debt, tax anticipation notes,
They have a
bonds, et cetera.
responsibility.
They have a responsibility, and we had some pushback from them. And so when we were financing about a year ago, so we're just trying to get it all on paper so we don't have any unexpected hiccups in the future, and we're close. It's just these things always take longer than one would hope. Personnel Committee.
So the first thing is the Personnel Committee would like to consider an adjustment from Library 2 to Library 3 in order to fairly compensate someone for her work she's been doing. We've talked about this. She's actually been doing Library 3 work since the summer?
Since September 21st, when Kathy Cronin permanently left the Children's Library. And it would be a temporary appointment in
Making
terms
it
of,
permanent.
right, she is, this librarian is a librarian 2. She'd be paid the difference between a librarian 2 salary and a librarian 3 salary. And it would last until a new librarian 3 head of Children's Services is appointed.
So the Personnel Committee has shared this information with each other, and we recommend it. So I so move.
Second.
I didn't say it. Okay, I so move. Okay.
You moved to?
I move to pay the Library 2 person at the Library 3 rate until we hire a Library 3.
Thank you.
She moved. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. That's one. I don't have anything to say about this next thing.
Okay.
Project manager, that's.
Is there anything new? There's nothing new.
There's nothing, been no developments, but our attorney has issued an opinion that the Personnel Committee, we should meet and talk about it.
Do you want me to mention this now? This is the fees. I don't know when that
What
would
is
really
that?
come under policy.
That's a good question. Probably policy, yeah.
Okay.
And next is the Policy Committee.
This is just something that has come up. It's very interesting. And actually, I don't know if you know about this,
Yes,
Dr.
go
Gray. That WLS has been discussing getting rid of the fines
Yes.
that people pay. Really? Yeah.
Well, I haven't brought it up because we haven't finished discussing it.
And it's on an individual library by library basis. There's no fiat
Right.
from the county that says no more fines.
Where does the revenue go?
Well,
That's
a good question. Isn't that a good
We do have
question,
quite a
Greg?
revenue from it. That's why we're just kind of we'll discuss it in policy,
So it
but
would be a WLS recommendation?
Yes.
Okay.
Remember, we don't, there's some things the state tells us, we can tell you you have to do, but that's not one of them.
but we do get a nice significant.
And some libraries don't.
Right. It's about, yeah, we get
$50,000
$50,000 in fines, and our fines are not even a lot.
But
It's
the
like-
argument is to make it more equitable.
Right.
Because determining what a lot is varies for families.
Yep.
From family to family.
Family to family, so $5 for one can be the difference of not having access to the library.
When we
Right.
finish discussing it, I will gladly bring it to you.
I have a feeling this is going to be controversial.
So my suggestion would be that we wait for sort of some thoughts from WLS
Yes,
before we
yes.
move on?
There, I do.
Or do you have a different view?
Well, no, I just want to report that there was a meeting last
With
week.
the library directors.
The library directors met to talk about this issue. And the background is, as Yadira mentioned, is that the traditional idea is that fines are an incentive to bring material back. And they're also a revenue stream. And in our instance, we have generated between $48,000 to $50,000 in the last 2 years for fines, and also for lost and paids, and also for books on hold, which is a significant amount of money. At our meeting, White Plains, of course, bigger library, more activity, indicated that they generate over $70,000. But New Rochelle, this is a significant revenue stream for us. However, the argument is that in many public libraries throughout the country, different areas, have decided to experiment with either relinquishing fines entirely, or in many instances, relinquishing fines for children's material, which is an important difference. And
I agree.
These libraries don't have to get their budget voted on every year.
yeah, it's a concern. Our fines, it's 5 cents, isn't it? I
It's
think?
5 cents, but also for ebooks, which is the way we're going, there are no fines.
There are no fines.
So, yeah, there are no fines
So
for
the
people who have access.
The people who have the
So,
technology.
Yeah.
The Kindle and the Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
and
so
that
it's
don't have to pay a fine.
Right,
very inequitable
but if you can't afford a
anyway.
Kindle, you have to
Yeah.
borrow a book, and
Could we look at what I'm looking at Jean, because she's the master of all things, of finding out how much of the 50,000 come from children's books versus
Yeah,
adult books?
I would love to.
We don't break it out that way.
Tom and I discussed it.
Yeah.
We discussed trying to figure out what was lost books.
Yeah.
What was children.
Right.
It's just very, very cumbersome to do, and we don't have the technology
Yeah.
at the front desk to do it.
no, the search, but the only library in the county that has started this is the Yonkers Public Library, and they do not charge for children's books. Unfortunately, the director was not at that meeting. But what I think might be worthwhile is for me to reach out to Mr. Falcone, who's been very responsive with my many other questions, and ask him, can they tell from their before and now, what's the difference?
Yep.
How much did they gather collectively prior to this policy being implemented, and how much are they taking in now? Now, of course, things are changing, because as we talked about, the ebooks and all that technology is a lot, and Hoopla and Canopy and all these things are allowing us not to worry about that DVD that's due in 3 days.
Except, Tom, it does make me uncomfortable
Yeah.
that there's two different.
Yeah.
It really is
police.
a little,
Absolutely.
it's uncomfortable. So if there's a way we can figure this out, it's worth it, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
What I will do is I'll reach out to Yonkers, and I do know that these directors at the meeting last week were going to go back to their boards, like we're talking today, to discuss the matter, because it's an important issue, and it's revenue versus equity.
Yes,
And it's
yeah.
a real balancing act.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see
Jean,
how-
Jean has something to say.
Just have to keep in mind that all the clerks are authorized to negotiate down.
And they're
all the
wonderful.
fines, and they do it on a regular
They do.
basis.
It's a fair,
And it's 1/3 of money, approximately 1/3 of money that the library has to create on their own to supplement the tax levy.
right, our revenue stream, independent of our tax levy, is $150,000? Yeah.
You mean
So-
I could have negotiated those late fees?
Well, to be honest with you, Greg, the reality is our circulation staff, they do a great job. It's really sort of, let's make a deal. People will come and say, I can't afford to pay this, and our staff has been deputized.
I don't even like that people have to come to them and say, I can't afford. It's just not, that's just not comfortable for me at all, for somebody to feel like they have to go and say, I can't afford to.
And the other component is that, we have a great staff, but there are different levels of approach, and certainly other libraries talk about, it feels in these sorts of instances, there's not a level.
it's
not
Right.
equitable.
Even the opportunity to negotiate.
Yeah.
And then you think of a language barrier.
Yeah.
Like, there's
Yeah.
so many issues that
There
come
are.
into play, and understanding the severity, or even understanding that negotiating is an option.
It's an option.
Look, I'm not trying, I'm a frequent contributor to the late fee, but I own several library books that I've purchased that I found in my closet, as I told you. I found at least one of them that I paid for. That my kids had in a backpack that fell. It's a whole thing.
It's a thing that we can all relate to.
But in any event, just being super conscious of the issues that we've talked about in other areas. And also, I'd be curious from the authors, if the goal of the fees, aside from generating revenues to incentivize return of books, how are they incentivized?
Yeah,
right?
that's
the question.
What's the
Yeah.
penalty?
Well,
It's not fees. I don't wanna
well, the
lose
penalty is that if we choose to relinquish fines for children or for everybody, there is still the obligation to return the material, and if the material isn't returned, it's considered lost, and then the patrons are responsible to either return the material or purchase new material in its place, or give us what we consider the purchase fee. So we're not
There's
giving
same
up the
ex-
opportunity
yeah, it's the
of
same
saying, if you lose a book, we
Right.
don't care. What we're saying is, if you're late with a book, we will not charge a fee that may lock out a group of patrons.
So what I will do is that I will try, because we have a meeting on the 29th, WLS, I will try to find out a couple of libraries in the nation. Chattanooga, as you know, has got a great library, and Seattle, and see what they do about fines and how they handled it.
That'd be great.
You know, I sent Deidre a packet of articles about libraries that are doing that and their experiences. I'll send it to you tomorrow. And it's in your packet too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in my packet.
Yeah,
This-
but
I
I
thought that
also
was from
emailed it.
them, this Westchester
It
Library
is.
thing?
It's articles that have been gathered from various sources that talk about
Okay.
how libraries dealt with either dropping fines entirely or dropping it for a segment of the population.
But to me, it is a question of equity and access, just to be clear, that it is for
But
me.
the thing to think about, it's a discussion that I had. It's one thing to drop fines. It's another thing for you to lose my book.
Well, it's a different, we're not talking about that.
Yeah, and I think those two things have to be kept separate.
Right, they are separate, they need to be separate.
Yeah.
Use library trustees. So
So
get more information from Tom and Dr. Gregg. Thank you.
And we have a meeting in January about policies.
January 20th.
Yeah.
Is it 20?
It was, but it looks like we're going to change it.
Oh, that's cool. But the 20th is a Saturday. Did we say we're meeting on Saturday? Okay, well then we.
I'm happy with changing that date.
Okay, but, and so after that, we'll have, at the February meeting, we'll have a whole bunch of policy issues to discuss.
Great.
And they vary from a new museum pass policy that will allow our patrons to borrow more frequently, tutoring policy, our teen kiosk policy. We're hoping that the board will take a look at its bylaws. It hasn't been reviewed for, I think Greg was only on the board when that was done over 5 years ago. So it's worth our time to look at it. And I also have copies of other libraries' bylaws to do some comparison. So it'll be, that policy committee meeting will be pretty robust.
That's really interesting, the museum pass that should be high, they're trending high for this year.
This December, Susan Mackey, who has done a wonderful job organizing our 22 museum passes that are available to all of our residents for museums in New York and Connecticut. We have doubled from last December to this December.
We
On the correction, the library bylaws, were last amended September 11, 2003. If I have to correct.
I'll share the full language. I have said it. Anyway, okay, we'll talk after.
Any else from the policy?
I'm on the policy.
Thank you. Any update on the special projects committee and the broadcasting, we're broadcasting, but I guess the more permanent thing, is there any update on that?
Yeah, actually.
Maybe you can mention what you're trying to do.
Okay, absolutely. In terms of Chuck's question about where we stand in terms of broadcast, we're lucky enough to have our videographer here, Laura. But the long-term plan is that the city of New Rochelle will grant us $25,000 in PEG monies. It went before the city council last week. Unfortunately, it was tabled not because of a concern about the velocity, but there was some sort of technical glitch, according to Captain Gilwood. But it's going back to them next week.
Well, we should go.
I'd like to be there.
I had asked, I said, should we attend? And she said, oh, it's a done deal, but maybe we should
Well, it
go.
wasn't.
It might be just good for form. for one of us.
I'll send you the information. I
Yes.
believe it's Tuesday.
Or it might be good for one of us to speak at the next citizens
Right.
to be heard.
Yeah.
on
Say thank
behalf
you.
of the library.
Well, thank you after it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just,
for what?
This is, the $25,000 will be money that we'll utilize to purchase our own broadcast system that will be stationed here, but not limited to usage in here. It's a portable system that we can take and move to another part of the library or perhaps outside. And so we're very excited about that. And what we're hoping to do is to work with Iona College and hopefully with Laura to work out a student work-study program where they will be involved in the taping, in the editing, et cetera. They're also working with us to help us, hopefully in the near future, staff our digital media lab. These college students are really on top of all of that. But so that's where we stand in terms of the broadcast system. But when we went through the interviews earlier this week, Daniel had a great idea. When we talked about our broadcast and that it was being made available to the public, he asked if it was in Spanish. And we said, no, it's not, but it should be. So what we've started is the process of talking with people about how we can get at least captions so that our Spanish speakers are not locked out of understanding what's going on at our meetings. So thank you, Daniel. That was a great beginning. So I don't have a report on it, but
I saw
Only
that
up
you're
from here.
working. Yeah.
yeah, we have some good ideas. It may cost a little money, but I frankly think this is not an economic issue.
Right.
It's an
Neither do I.
access issue.
That's great.
Yeah. I just want to find the system that can do it most successfully quickly.
Yeah.
That for us is the challenge, to find something will provide that. But we'll get there.
And now, drum roll.
Drum
for the
roll.
last
Where are
item,
we with
the
the-
Rockwell?
Rockwell is due back, ETA, in late January. Yeah.
So it's on time.
It's on time. And the surveillance system should be installed in the near future.
Now, is it going to be one of those I asked before, one of those things where?
Now that we're
Please?
broadcast, I can't tell you because we'll
Okay.
be giving it away. No. It's actually, we're working with our vendor who's on a state contract, and it's a pretty James Bond state-of-the-art kind of system.
Is
Which,
it going to not really obscure the painting, though? Is it
No,
going
it's
to be
not.
pretty
It's very,
invisible, if you will?
well, with this system, at one point, we had thought about encapsulating the painting.
Yeah, which would be kind
Which is kind of not a great thing. But this painting, it will go back to its original
Yeah.
state. It will go back to its original location in this library, which most appropriately is in the children's
Yep.
area, just a little bit elevated so people can see it. So,
And not put push pins in it?
right. When the conservation people started to work on it, they discovered that apparently we were very relaxed a long time ago and stuck push pins with pieces of paper into the Rockwell. Yikes. That hasn't happened for many, many years and won't happen in the future.
I heard some of the Post-it notes had your name on them.
It's a dirty rumor, I deny.
Are there
Collusion.
any, I think that's it. Well, I'm going to move to adjourn the meeting.
Amen. I second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Amen. I know I said amen. I'm like, amen. I'm like, oh, wait, no, I second.